So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And unfortunately, I figure I should just go over why we're not going to solve this global warming issue. I'm just amazed that nobody's really talking about this. Nobody's really put the pieces together. I mean, for myself, I am just a regular individual, and this isn't something that I should be really looking at. I happened to have a discussion with my friend, and we started going over it. He would call me a pessimist by nature. I would call him an unnecessary optimist who's not looking at the information. But basically we aren't. We're not going to be able to solve this global warming thing. And this is our existential threat. This is probably the reason why we don't see any signs of extraterrestrial life out there. Even though statistically, I think according to our poor statistics, we should see that. If we just look at what's happening right now with this pandemic, we can see that the most powerful group, the United States of America, on our planet, is having some problems dealing with this pandemic. And that shouldn't be the case for the most technologically advanced country on the planet. That should not be happening. We're also looking and seeing that, of course, one of the more poorer countries in the world, like India, one of the offshoots is, the contender, China, is managing to control, and other Asian countries also managing to control the virus. But there are so many places where it is not under control, and people are just trying to continue this economy that we've created that relies on growth, that does not recognize that we cannot even achieve growth with this relatively benign disease that we have. That this relatively benign disease is just going to gum up the economic works if we try to just open back up the world economy without snuffing this thing out. This is just a disease that, mainly kills older people. It doesn't kill 50% of the population. It doesn't kill, in most cases, even 10% of the population. The disease primarily kills older people who happen to have, other issues, diabetes, whatever else. And we can't seem to, we know about germs, we know about viruses. They're so small, when we know about them, we understand how they work, and we just couldn't figure this one out. How are we supposed to figure out something that, I think the number is much bigger than what I'm about to say. But I've seen a quote that for $50 trillion that it's going to cost to get us to a zero carbon economy. I don't think it's going to cost 50 trillion. I think it's going to cost more than that. I think the US alone is going to cost like 20 something trillion. That's the US alone. The US is like less than 10%, maybe 6% of the world population. Yes, it uses up the most energy, but it's way bigger than 50 something trillion. but 50 something trillion, we need to achieve that before this thing becomes unstoppable. We need to, this is the example that I gave a friend of mine who I was explaining this to. I don't think we'd ever had this discussion. I told him that, I was having a discussion with another friend, and then I realized we're not going to be able to stop this. The example that I gave my friend was my sister had had an unpleasant encounter with a moving company because she hadn't done enough research to figure out. And, maybe the moving company had, done its work to hide its nefarious past, let's say. Maybe there was nothing online she would have found, but maybe she would have found a good information about choosing a good moving company, But anyway, point is that after this bad encounter, I said to her when I was visiting and I was going to help her to move, here's what we'll do. We don't want to have that experience again, so let's, a couple months before you need to move, let's start packing up stuff. 1 box a day, every night. There's a storage facility right next to your job. You're going to take the box that we packed the night before, drop it off at the storage place. And then, by the time you need to move, it'll be 1 or 2 large pieces that you need to move, and that'll be it. You'll be done. So you won't have to worry about that. My sister did not want to pack 1 single box a night and and carry it to a storage place. She didn't want to do it. She was going to go ahead and pay movers again. Let me just make this even clearer. We had moved her stuff via FedEx to Pennsylvania once. The stuff had come and, maybe 1 or 2 things, small, minor things were missing. The boxes were all banged up. Things had gotten a little bit damaged for the most part. But I think she'd made a bunch of claims and gotten a lot of money back. Now, I don't know if this is a fact, but she said that maybe she got most of her money back from her claims. So the move would have been free. And, but this was not something that she wanted to do again. So she went and had this bad encounter with these people who tricked her by telling her after they'd moved the stuff onto the truck that there was a new price, and if she didn't want to pay it, she'd have to take her stuff off of the truck herself. They weren't going to do it. This was the scam the first scam that we saw when we looked up movers. And she was willing to risk this again, or risk having her stuff broken by people who didn't care about it when they were moving it, as opposed to simply packing 1 box every night and taking it to a storage place, so that when she needed to move into her new house, there were going to be delays. If they say it's going to be ready in February, then it's not going to be ready in February. So you don't know that you might need a place to live for a week while they're sorting this stuff out. But she didn't want to do that. And for you might think, hey, Earthling, why are you stressing? That's just one example. That's just your sister. Yeah, well, in America and in many parts of the world, people don't want to wear masks. They refuse. They rather be taped by cell phone, making this big fuss about not wearing a mask, not packing boxes, not anything. And if you look, I just shared this with a bunch of other people. There was an anti-mask league in the USA in 1919 or 1920 with respect to the Spanish flu, what they called the Spanish flu at the time. This is exactly the same thing that happened 100 years ago. People didn't even want to wear a mask, knowing that people were dying. And the Spanish flu was killing young people at that time, people in their 20s. And people were up in arms about a mask. How is the world supposed to spend $50 trillion to change the economy from being a fossil fuel based economy when people are complaining about wearing masks and making organizations dedicated to be against masks? This virus is nothing compared to the one that was in the Spanish flu. It isn't. And the death that the people would have seen at that time is much greater than we would have now as a percentage of the people who are around. We know so much more. We're supposed to be smarter. Our IQs have gone up. We have the internet. We knew that another virus outbreak was coming, and we haven't done anything. We're no different then to now. Yes, in Europe, people have had their outbreak and they've seen the effects of it, and they're closing down. They have managed to flatten the curve in Europe, but in so many other places, like in China, understandably in China, not in China, sorry, like in India, understandably in poorer countries, like in let's say Brazil, I guess, and parts of Africa and South America. Yeah, it's a problem, understandably. But in the most powerful country on the planet, with one of the highest amounts of education on the planet, most technologically advanced, and things are almost following a similar path, people are complaining that they won't take the vaccine. Similar to 1920. Anyway, this is just crazy, and we can't expect to beat climate change if we can't simply wear a mask without making a problem. So anyway, you can wish me lucks. You can like or unlike, comment, subscribe, and or share. Peace.